So once again, welcome to workout batch. So this is our workout batch 3.0, right? So I've done two workout batch in the past, and has been like really helpful for the students. And due to the feedback from them, we've decided to continue the workout batch because this is examination oriented. This is where you actually learn to write answers. Okay, you get the concepts covered, but the approach is different. You go through the questions, get the concepts covered, so the concept is also covered, the questions is also covered, and we're going to write. So be prepared enough that for the next 15 days you're going to do a lot of writing. Okay, so we will write all the answers so that you know what working notes to come, what mistakes were being made. So I'm going to write with you. So generally the faculties are given the freedom not to write, but in workout you work out, I work out, and we together work out. Okay, so workout, 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 that's the motto for this batch. And I will tell you how the classes would be like. So it will be 3 hours will be the session time. 3 hours, maybe 3 hour 15 minutes if you add the breaks and all that. So I wanted to clock in like 2.5 to 3 hours time on a daily basis in terms of actual classes, and that's it. So that will be the time limit unless we have some extra portion to cover. This is where we will stick on. And general timing is in the evening. It's going to start at today we had pushed it a little bit because we don't want any technical errors. But the next days it could be somewhere in 3 hours span. We will see what is the best time that is suitable for all of us, and then keep it there. So there is Ramadan coming up, so we will discuss how that will be affecting our schedules. So we will see how that can be managed as well. Okay, so that is, I hope that is also sorted, and we'll be sorting that. We will have discussion on the group and then sorting it out. So what we will do is that you need to have your work notes with you, have a fresh notes, and be prepared to write. So there is no attending a workout batch, lying down on the bed, or standing somewhere and then watching it, or sitting on the sofa and watching it as if it's a TV show that's going around. Even though I'm dressed up for that, but there is no plan of doing that. We should be actually writing it in our notebooks. So keep your notebooks, keep the calculator on the side, have a bottle of water with you so that you don't have to run for the bottle of water again and again. So this is that, like, these are the prerequisites for you to have. Then sit for 3 hours on a stretch. Do not miss the live classes. Ensure that you're there on the live. If you have any technical errors, definitely you can so when I'm taking classes, I'll not be able to answer those technical errors, but I do have given somebody to support you. So they can be reached out and they will be able to rectify your problems. But the easiest method, like any other technical error that we do, is exit and enter again. Okay, so how the recorded classes will be available for you. Let me give you a bit of thought on that. I hope everybody will attend live. So there is no need of recording because you've already finished attending the live. So in case anyone could not attend a class and you think that you wanted to attend the recording, ensure that you finish the recording on the same day. Okay, even if you stretch a bit of your sleep and then attend, plus ensure that you attend, because you can fall back to the live the very next day. Because live has that benefits, you've actually subscribed for the live, because live is interactive. I'm talking to you directly and you're sitting at your home and then having an interaction with me. You can always come back and ask me any doubts you have, at the end of the sessions, or post sessions through any of the platforms that I have given to you for asking me the doubts. So I'll tell you how those can work as well. If in case anybody misses it out, you already have a login in the application. You will be having the same recordings daily available there. Whatever we write, I'm also going to upload those into that same platform so that you don't have to keep asking words that recorded things are going to be in. So every day it will be available there and you can easily access it. It will be available till your examination gets over, so you don't have any worry about it. You can always go back and then check. The second thing would be, whatever I write on the screen, I'm going to upload it on the Google Drive as well as on the platform so that you can always go and then refer those notes as well. So those things are going to be a continuous process, and we're not going to leave out on that. Okay, so only thing that I require for your examination in May 2023 is your time of 3 hours per day dedicated to me with full focus, fresh, and then we will ensure that your examination goes well for GST. So you work out more and more, the lesser the surprises are. Now let's look at how the structure of May 23 examination is going to be like. Okay, so in workout batches, I'm roughly targeting around 300 questions to be covered. So that makes, if it's 15 days, we should go in a pace of 20 questions. Some of them could be bigger questions, or some of them could be smaller questions. So around 20 questions per day is what we are trying to cover. Then there is a model exam in full, 100 marks. I'm going to give you on the same structure, 100-mark model exam. And I am going to do the valuation for you. So what you do is you write this model exam. After we complete most of the portions, I'll keep it like that, and we'll see how many model exam we'll be able to write. So I'll do the valuation. So I'll give you on the platform how your answers was like. Then then so 300 questions, there's a model exam that we're going to do. We're going to cover all the amendments. So there was a model exam will be only GST. Okay, so 100 marks we're going to write the GST, but it will be like so if you want direct tax to be covered as well, you let me know. I can actually mix and keep it like that as well. I hope the voice is clear for all of you. I can see some of the chat saying that voice is not clear. It is clear for everyone, right? Okay, cool. Okay, let me see what can be done with the direct taxes as well. So we can do that for direct taxes plus GST as well. Let's see what can be done. Then amendments for that matter. So you have seen that there is a 78-page amendment that has come for May 23 exam. 78 pages. But believe me, not all 78 pages are relevant. So I've brought this into 16-page chart note. We're going to cover that fully, and our focus will be really great in those amended areas. Now, when I say amended areas, if there's an amendment in one chapter, one particular section, all related sections becomes important, because if they want to test that amended area, they might want to test a related topic as well. So we will have to learn that in wholesome. Okay, so we will look at those areas which are amended as a category in our ABC analysis, and then we will try to cover those. We will do questions relating to that. We will cover every question that has come from ICI side in terms of whatever question bank that they have given, whatever RTPs that they have given, whatever MTPs that they have given, and suggested answers in terms of past questions. The only problem you will have with GST is that every time you go back to the previous year questions, you cannot really go and trust those answers, because from time to time when the amendments happens, a lot of your answers that is written by ICI will become obsolete. So you'll have to go and change those answers, change questions a bit. So that is something that you will have to do. So that is something that I will do for you, and I'll ensure that all the questions are being worked out in our classes. Okay. So definitely some of those questions I'll give you as homework, and then maybe give you a roundup once you come back with answers. Okay. Then there will be a rapid revision. Through questions. So wherever the concepts are being repeated, I will do a rapid revision. Now I have given you guys an option this time. I've already uploaded the chart notes and the question bank, whatever I want to cover today, into the Google Drive. However, I'm giving an option. I've gone to somebody who's a friend of mine who runs a printing press, and our chart notes are color based chart notes. So it's very easy for people to refer color. And I always had this problem that when the students go and then take printout, it is not very affordable to take printouts in color. But this guy has come back to me and said that he will do some printing, some adjustments, and do it on cost for me. So you will get the wholesale rate, and I intend not to charge anything for the note printing except from whatever cost that he charges on a bulk printing. I will pass that on to you guys. If you guys want, he will do the courier at cost again. So if anybody wants to have things that, okay, it's always good to read the books than going through the PDFs, right? So it will take some time to deliver, depending upon if you're far away from the city and all that. It will take some time to deliver. And they wanted to do the printing on one shot. So I will finalize the people who have actually given for printing by end of today. At night, I will look at who are the people who have gone for the printing. Our team will reach out to you, tell you how much will be the prices for each one of you. So the rough prices is 300 rupees or something for that 200-page color notebook, and around 300 rupees for that 400-page question bank. So if you want both, you can take both. Think it's a price of a burger probably you have from your KFCs or McDonald's. So you can have those notebooks. Courier today, I think courier will cost you like some 30 rupees or 50 rupees depending upon location. So that's what you will pay, and you can get those notes courier to you. Somewhere in next week you will get the courier, so you can have, by the time we are progressing on couple of chapters, you will have the notes also printed with you, so that your revision reference will be easier for you. Okay, and that chart notes is something that I've given you the printout. If you think that you don't want, you can just take the printout. You have the printer at home, or you think that you're comfortable with the PDF. I don't really force people to do take a printout. It's completely on choices for you. But I wanted to do that for you this time around. Okay, so that because last time some people have asked and I've tried to do this. So I've asked that I've already shared the link on the group. So I will ask the team to reshare the link. You can go ahead and then fill up your details and then tell those. Those people alone, I will be able to go do the courier. The only problem is that if you find that you wanted to do it later, I'll be able to do it, but it is going to take a little extra time in terms of do the courier for him. So he's going to do the direct courier for all of you. Okay, so that's it about getting those notes. Otherwise, the notes are free. You get the PDF free, absolutely free. You can use those. I don't mind sharing all my notes with you. There are summaries and everything that I'm adding at the end that is also being shared to you. Okay, so this is about how we're going to go with the workout batch. I hope these things are clear to you. Now, to give little bit of extra, understanding for those people who have attended my regular classes somewhere. So some of you might think that, okay, this is the notes that I have in printout and I've already studied this. Should I again go ahead and then get another notes? No need. Plus, what you have to do is that I've given you the amendment notes alone. That amendments alone you have to mark in the main notes. Okay, so since I'm going to take the amendments in detail, you will be able to mark those. Question bank answers would change, and I'll tell you where and all the amended questions are. So from the previous question bank that you have, you can always go and change it. Now, the number of questions that we're going to do, our target is to finish every question ever ICA has come out with. Additional question on the areas where ICA has not tested with. So this is what we are going to do. Okay. Now, this covers, I hope I've covered all the understanding and confusion that you might have with workout batch. What is that we're going to do? And from the previous batches, the feedback has been like by the end of the workout batch, you're like aware of every kind of question that comes around. And still, ICA might ask you a new question, but you're having lesser surprises because these areas are being already discussed. And by the time we finish the batches, you will have like real good confidence in terms of GST. That's our target, and that's what we should target. So 35 plus out of 40. That's the only thing that we should think of. Whatever may be this, those examination, we should be able to go score 35 plus. If you look at the last examination also, if you go do cover to cover reading of our chart notes, which is like 200 pages and full of colors and pictures, there was nothing that came additional. Everything was that that was discussed there was covered in chart notes that was given for the last time as well. So be aware of that. Cover to cover for the chart notes and study everything. Now, you don't have a lot of time. What you should do after the workout batch? You don't have a lot of time for the examination. So I don't intend you spend a full day in terms of reading GST. No, you have so many other things. This should be parallel. This should be supplementing you without any trouble. You should be able to get through GST. So what you should do at the end of this session is that spare half an hour to 1 hour time. Read through the chart notes. Get those areas being covered in terms of studying the concept. Questions are already being discussed. So whatever questions you had a doubt, ensure that you go through that questions once again and get an understanding on if there is any question you could not write the working notes, go learn those working notes. So spare half an hour to 1 hour time every day in terms of consolidating our discussion. I'm going to do the summary of our discussion on a daily basis, but I would recommend you all do this as well. Now let me give you an introduction on what is there in store for you in terms of the examination. Now I want to do two more things before I start with the chapter that I'm planning. I'll give you the whole plan. I'll give you a calendar as well in terms of what chapters will be covered on what day, so that you will know, which are the chapters that you wanted to, ensure that you prepare before you come for the workout. So if you have anything like that, I'll give you those calendar as well, so that your complete plan is charted out. Okay. So the next thing I want to cover an ABC analysis. Have you heard of ABC analysis? It's there in your costing for you to learn. Okay, it's called as Pareto analysis. Now, Pareto says that 70 to 80% of revenue for any company comes from 20 to 30% of product. Okay. So if you take Tata Group has so many companies, 20, 30 companies, but Tata Group's most revenue come from few companies like Tata Consultancy Services, Tata Steel and Tata Motors and things like that. So every company will have this kind of an analysis being made. Similarly, for your examination also, you need to have this understanding. Even though you have so many things that is written in your book, 70% of your questions come from 30% of your topic. Okay, so you should understand what is the most important topic for you. Okay, so that is the understanding that you make by ABC analysis. So what you should do is that based on ABC analysis, your chapter preferences could be given. Now you're not in a position when it comes to ICA examination. The day before the examination, you will be able to read cover to cover. A lot of students confuse themselves by understanding that, okay, the day before the examination, you should read cover to cover. No, you don't have to read that. You need to ensure that you cover the A category and have an idea on B category. Do summary something of C category. So what is A, B, C category? We will have to devise our chapters into ABC analysis. So in case of GST, every subject that you approach for the examination should be dealt like this. Say for example, when you're learning GST for the first time, how do you learn GST for the first time? When I'm learning GST for the first time, I start with chapter number 1. I learn introduction. I might take a day to understand what is the concept of GST. Read every sentence that is there in introduction chapter. But once you learn what is GST and then go back to GST for remembering it or studying it for the examination, there is no need for you to start from chapter number 1. You start from the important chapters and get a hold of those things. So I might ask you to read now, which having examination so close, I might ask you to go ahead and then read GST in a different order. The chapter number 1 might be the last chapter that you might want to go and read, because it's a lot of theory and you can always plan. Last examination, 0 questions came from chapter number 1. Chapter number 1 is C category. In every 4 examination, 1 examination, there's a question. Okay, that's it. Now, what is A category? What is B category? What is C category? Now, having ABC analysis, I wanted to add one more additional thing. I've already promised everybody who's attending workout batch and another free revision. There's a 5-hour revision that's going to happen on the day 2 days before the examination, which means the day of costing examination that happens on 8th. If I'm not wrong, if I'm wrong, you have to correct me. 8th May is the costing examination, right? 10th is the tax examination. So what generally the problem, last examination at least you had 2 days to cover taxes, but this time you don't have, and you have income tax and GST to cover in a day's time, which becomes a little difficult because income tax has so many provisions that you might have to go and read again. So how do you maneuver between this? You do in this order. So what you do is, the day after your costing examination, which is 8th May, at night you start reading GST. And the next day, full day till evening, you start looking at income taxes only. The next day night again, you read something about GST. Then the next day you look at questions, RTPs and everything, that summaries that you've looked at, and then go and write the examination. That's the whole idea. And it's okay if you spare a little extra time on 8th May, because you can sleep a bit on 8th May, because 9th May you might not be able to have that extra lavish sleep to recover your health. So 8th May in the evening, 7 p.m. to 12 p.m. This is where people are not very productive, because you're coming after an exam, you're tired and all that. You don't know what to do. Do you want to read it? Do you don't want to read it? Or maybe you might think of reading the next day. Here is where I can help you. I'll give you a 5-hour free revision, and it'll be on this platform again. So everybody who is enrolled for workout batch will get an early access to that. Okay, so you don't have to worry about 500 people finishing the Zoom limit and all that. You will definitely get that access. You'll even get a recorded access the very next day about the classes that I've finished the day before. So attend this 5-hour. What we're going to do is whatever we have discussed over this batch, it will be condensed into 5 hours. The whole book that you might have, the color book, will be gone through. So everything in color book in 5 hours. I'll be super fast. It'll be a marathon, no break. Let's go. Get maximum information to your head, so that day you'll feel like, okay, something I've done in GST. So that's an additional thing I want to tell you. Now, how do you approach ABC? Okay, A category is very important chapters, B category is important chapters, C category is less important chapter. But how many chapters do we have in GST? We have 10 chapters. GST syllabus for intermediate is 10 chapters. And I'm going to divide them into ABC category. But I might categorize one chapter into C category, but inside C category chapter, there could be an area where there is an amendment, and that area will become A category. So I could have an A category chapter with an A category area. So when I put a chapter into A category, everything in that chapter is important. If I put a chapter into B category, everything that in that chapter is important. But in that, there could be something very important. That will be A category again. In C category chapters, again, there could be something that is less important. C category means like once in 4 exams, there's a question on that area. So B category chapters means once in 2 examinations, there's a question, or once in every examination, there could be some small questions. A category, every examination, there's a question from these chapters. Okay, so A category chapters, we can look at 10 chapters, we're going to divide that. This is the approach that we're going to take. And even if you're reading, you should start reading in this order. But my approach towards working out will be slightly different. Now, chapter number 1 I'm going to do will be value of supply. So every examination, there's a valuation question. Okay, there's no examination without a valuation question. So there'll be something on value that you will be tested with. Because end of the day, 60% of your questions are actually practical questions. Okay, they want you to compute, but all connected with some kind of a provision on the back end. Now, in your book, it will be chapter number 5, unit 1. This is A category. Everything in this particular chapter is important. After we finish that chapter, we will go into a chapter called as charge. This is chapter number 3 in your book. Because unless you know what is reverse charge and items under reverse charge, a lot of other areas will become very vague for you. So it's very important that we look at charge and then try to understand what are the areas in charge and do all the questions in charge and get those understanding on the amended areas. In charge chapter, so in value chapter, you do section, it is section 15 that we're going to discuss. Now, let me also give you an understanding on that. How much do you have in GST? GST basically teaches you an act called as CGST Act. CGST Act 2017. Even though CGST Act has more than 100 sections, we don't have everything for us to learn here. Our section numbers is from 7 to section 50. That's it. And there is a couple of other sections that might get referred, some penalty sections just for the section sake, some sections on confiscation and all that. Not there as what that section is. The only additional section that you have is section 68, which is e-way bill, which is referring back to a rule basically. So you will have to learn that rule in total. So otherwise, if you learn from section 7 to section 50 and learn every rule relating to those, plus all the circulars which are very important now relating to this, and plus 3 schedules. That's it. That's it. Your syllabuses. Okay. Now we will look at how this is being distributed across. Now there's a chapter in chapter 5 which is called as value of supply, which is dealing with section 15. Charge has 2 sections which we have to learn, which is 9, which talks about RCM, which is very important. Then there is section 10, which talks about a scheme called as composition levy scheme. These are very important areas in those chapters. The third chapter that you will have to cover is called as time of supply, which is also an A category chapter. In this A category chapter of time of supply, section 13 subsection 3, which talks about time of supply for RCM cases. So if you are somebody who's listening GST for the first time, you might feel like, okay, whoa, what is this? But just understand that this is how your syllabus is. Okay. But don't worry, just stick on to it, put some extra efforts. You'll be like an expert in GST in no time. Now, also, time of supply. Time of supply RCM cases would be like very important. All others are important, but this is like very important. Now, the fourth chapter, which is A category, would be input tax credit chapter. In input tax credit chapter, section 16, which talks about the conditions for ITC. Section 17.5, which talks about a concept called as blocked credit. These are 2 segments of sections you should never miss out if you're studying for GST, because there is an examination question in every examination. Okay, very, very important 2 sections in that. Number 5, this time I'm adding an additional fellow into A category. Generally, I keep the A category into like these 4 chapters. This is what we will revolve around and then cover, in this order first. Okay, but this time another fellow comes into this picture, which is exemption chapter. Okay, this is chapter number, time of supply is chapter number 5 again, unit 2. Sorry, this is unit 2, this is unit 1. ITC is chapter number 6, exemption is chapter number 4 in your books. Okay. Why am I pushing exemption into? Exemption has more than 100 exemptions in services for you to learn, but why exemptions are very important? Because there are about 22 amendments. Those amendments will become super important for you. 22 amendments, including 14 clarifications. I've already given charts for this. Because there is so much of amendments and exemption, it becomes important, and if somebody wants to test an examination question in exemption, they want to attack this area, because that is what is going to be updated. Now, where do you stand with reading ICA material because of this? Ensure that whenever you're reading ICA material, you go and read it together with the amendment notes. So there's this, I told you that there's a 78 pages notes that is given. So there are a few areas in ICA material that is got changed. There are a few chapters with no changes, like time of supply, value of supply, 0 changes. You can just go and read the ICA material in full. But do I suggest you to read the ICA material? Only if you have enough time available. Otherwise, you can restrict yourself to our notes and then our books or questions. Look at ICA material for illustrations and examples and end of the chapter questions. Then, this is where I'm leaving my A category chapters. Now let's start with B category chapter. Number 1 is registration. In registration, even though registration is a B category chapter for me, aggregate turnover in registration is an A category one. Okay, it's very important. There are a lot of questions that comes in aggregate turnover discussion. Then now, because of lots of amendments, cancellation is also an A category area now. Okay. Then this is section 29. Okay, that is where the cancellation discussion is. Then second, supply chapter, which is chapter number 2 for you in your book. Not much of amendments, it's just the same thing that you would have otherwise seen. So you can read the textbook. Only thing in supply chapter, the important one, schedule 1 is generally tested in an exam, very important for you. Section 8, composite supply and mixed supply, is also tested occasionally in the exam. In schedule 1, 2, 3. Now there's an amendment which has a lots of clarification in one area, which is section 7, subsection 1, capital A. In that we have a schedule called a schedule 2. In schedule 2 there is para 5E, which talks about liquidated damages. So there's some 5-6 page amendment that has come in terms of clarifications on each transaction, how it would work. So that's also important for us to look at now. Third one in B category would be invoice chapter now. Why am I pushing invoice chapter up the order now? Because invoice chapter has amendments. Okay, so invoice chapter has like 4 areas which I will list down as important for us. One is due date, section 31, which we will learn together with time of supply chapter. Second would be e-way bill. E-way bill is not very important, it's like once in 3 examinations, but there are a couple of areas which got amendment, so that's why I'm listing out there. Para 5E of schedule 2 was talking about agreeing to an obligation to refrain from acting, to tolerate an act, or to do an act or situation. That was para 5E. Okay, so that is where they have given a circular and clarified. When you're tolerating an activity, how do you understand how many of this tolerating would be taxable and all that? There's a large reading that is available, but I'll do the reading for you. I'll simplify it. I've already given you the summary notes for you. Now, e-way bill, there is e-invoice. Those are all different. E-way bill and e-invoice has been tested. E-invoice has another amendment this time for exam as well. Then there is an area called as dynamic QR code. It is not tested. So I wanted to ensure that I teach that as well and look at some questions on theory, how dynamic QR code will, if at all tested, can be written in the exam. Then what is C category chapters? In procedure, I would call payment chapter as C category. That area of challan and all is not tested generally. But however, in payment chapter, you have areas like section 50, which is now A category, very important, because there is 2 set of amendments that has happened in section 50. What is section 50? Interest on delayed payment. In all these areas, amendments will become important. Okay. Then second would be a return chapter. In return chapter, QRMP scheme is something that has been tested occasionally. So that is something that you will have to be aware of, all the changes that has happened to that. Then introduction chapter. Chapter number 1. There are theories that you can there are 10 theory areas that you will have to learn, and I'll list out those. We study those and then say bye-bye to introduction chapter. This is what you have in store in terms of GST syllabus. Okay, so our agenda for the next, probably 45-50 hours would be to ensure that we master in all of this and all the amendments, all the questions. We write, and then get a clarity on this. Okay, so I hope you have now some idea on what is that we are approaching, what is that we are trying to do, and the order in which we are going to do is slightly different. We're going to jump, shuffle. I'm going to do some chapter in between some areas, some important areas. I'll just mix it up and all that, because some questions will be, and now how the questions are like. Let's look at that also. question pattern. What's your approach towards exam? You have 40 marks examination, right? You have 40 marks examination. How is it being divided? Those who have written the examination would now already know this. Question part A is MCQ, which is for 12 marks. That is 30%. And the rest is 70% is descriptive. How they'll ask this? There's a case study question, generally for 4 to 5 questions. They don't do consistency there. Case study question, like there will be a big paragraph for you to read, and there will be like 4 to 5 questions of 2 marks from that. One or two other MCQs. Okay, then this is your part A. Now you have part B, right? In part B, you have 3 questions. Question 1, 2, 3, and 4. Question 1 is a compulsory question. For 8 marks. This is generally a computational question. And every examination, they try to make this little innovative, try to do a computation. So generally it is like net GST computation. But they'll club chapters like some procedure chapter, some ITC, something on value, something on time of supply. They'll just mix and then ask you a question. Biggest mistake all of us do when it comes to examination is to go and appear for the compulsory question first. I tell again and again to all my students that don't go appear the compulsory questions immediately when you start writing. Write it like second or third whenever you're comfortable, because one of those other questions would be easier. So your first answer should be like the best answer. So you give an impression to the examiner, see, I know how to answer, okay. So after that, you go ahead and then write the answer for the other. Okay, second. And most of the time when they do this compulsory question, a new question. So you don't want to go think a lot in that question. I'll give you an approach how the 100 mark time can be managed. So 40 marks means you can spend around 1 hour 15 minutes. That's the best timing. Why I say it's the best timing, because if you look at a lot of our students tend to finish only like 75 to 80 marks questions in every examination. If you put it across for 8 examinations, that's about like 100 and 150 marks. I think 150 marks. If you leave 20 marks in every exam, that's like 150 marks, 160 marks actually. 8 examination together. So which means what? Instead of writing examination for 800 marks, you're trying to get those 400 marks from 650 marks that you've appeared. So the first and foremost idea for the May examination for all of us is to ensure that we cover all the questions answers. So that comes from workout. That is the pace that we want to do. So every examination question we are going to do here will be based on a timer. So we will have a timer on and we will look at how much time we are taking for a question. Question number 1 is compulsory. Out of the next 3 questions, write any 2 will be the answer. So each of this will be 10 marks. 10 marks. So which means out of 40, 12 marks MCQ, 28, 8 is gone for compulsory. Out of that, next will be gone for 10 marks. So this 10 marks has different combination. It could be like 5 plus 5. It could be 6 plus 4. it could be 5 plus 3 plus 2. Generally, it will be like this. Okay. Now, how these questions are. Now, question number 2, 3, and 4. Fourth question is something that we already know. It is a theory-based question. So you pick any of those two. Okay. Now, in theory-based question, you will have question A and question B. In question B, again, write any one. Get it? So it will be 5 marks for question A here and 5 marks for question B here. So if you learn theory, and suppose you have some question from the theory based areas, like say for example in the procedure there are lots of topic for us to learn, but generally what happens with us is that we tend to not learn those procedure areas. But if you have a tougher exam, like you're not very sure about 2 and 3 wherein you have computational question, you can actually go and take the advantage of theory based area. Like you might not get 5 and 5, even if you write all full, but you can get 4 and 4 and make it 8. So learn that also. That also is something that we wanted to ensure that we cover theory based, so that you don't miss out on writing it in full. Question number 2 and 3 is generally practical theory or numerical. So you either write 2 and 3 and then 1 is enough, or write 4. So generally I suggest when you get that 15 minutes of your cool off time, identify what question you want to write first and what question you want to write second. This is the approach that you should make. Okay, I hope you are now familiar with how the question pattern would be and how you want it to write. Type of questions. So the type of question that you have in GST is very simple. MCQ, you mark, it's an OMR sheet, so there's nothing to tell you how to write an MCQ, right? Then you have direct theory. So if you really look at the question number, the last question that I've told you will have 2 theory areas. This is direct theory. You learn from the chart notes the point, make sentences out of it, and then go and then appear for this. Okay, so direct theory questions can be either appeared paragraph to paragraph, or it can be written point to point. Even if you write paragraph, each point should be separate paragraph, and you end up underlining the same pen, using the same pen itself. You just underline if there is anything that you think should be highlighted to the value, like just underline and then go. We will do those kind of mechanism when we are solving some questions. Then direct theory question is directly you write the answer. There's nothing to explain you that. Then there is another question called as practical theory. How practical theory question would be there? Mr. Raju is having turnover of 15 lakhs in the state of Tamil Nadu. Whether Raju needs to obtain register or obtain registration this is a practical theory question, because there's a theory provision. I have to go understand the provision and then connect that provision to the case study that is given and then write an answer. So direct theory questions can be for it can be from 2 marks, or it can be 3 marks, or it can be 4 marks or 5 marks. These are the type of marks that is given. Practical theory questions, the maximum that you have for one single question is that compulsory question 8 marks. Rest everything could be 8 marks questions are there, 6 marks. There's no question of 16 mark. There's no question of 10 mark one single question. You don't have in GST. So you can always learn okay, this question is 16 mark. I'm never going to have this kind of question. It will be trimmed down. So whenever we see bigger question, we should also understand for how many marks would it be tested, because depending upon how many marks, your answer should also change, because for each mark you should spend about 1.5 minutes is the the golden rule. For 1 mark, 1.5 minutes you take after reading the question, 1.5 minutes. So 100 marks, 150 minutes, that is 2.5 hours, because 30 minutes is what you would generally take to read the questions, right? So if you're taking 1.5 minutes, 5 mark question you finish in 7-8 minutes, great pace. That's what we will target in each of our question solving. Practical theory question should be answered in a format. You should write the provision first. When you're writing the provision, should you quote section numbers? Section numbers alone will not grab you any marks, but quoting section numbers, at least the main section numbers, give the examination a validation that you even know the section numbers. It's very easy to learn section number in GST. It's not confusing. You have main section numbers to learn. It's very easy. You don't learn the rule numbers unless it's like very important. You don't learn the circular numbers unless it's like very important. You don't have any circular number to learn as such. You don't learn the notification numbers unless it's very important. Like some 3 notification number, I'll beg people like, please learn this so that you can use these, be very smart about it. Don't like, your objective is not to by heart here. The objective is to ensure that you sound smart to that valuer who's writing, like checking your answers. So practical theory questions will be answered with provision first, then do a comment paragraph. Each paragraph can be different. Do a provision paragraph as per section 22 of GST Act 2017. A supplier of goods in the state of Tamil Nadu needs to obtain registration if their aggregate turnover exceeds 40 lakhs. Could be a provision. You all will be able to write this, okay. Then second would be, like in the given question, Raju has a turnover of 15 lakhs, which is less than the threshold limit that is prescribed in the law. Then there would be a conclusion. That will be the third part. Hence, what is the final answer of yours? Raju need not take registration in GST. So that's how you get 3 marks or 4 marks. Then numerical question. There are like 4 types of numerical question. That's it. First one, compute time of supply. This is a date based question. Which date should I take as the time of supply? That's one. Taxable value. What is the taxable value? You have so many items given. This could be coming from exemption chapter. This could be even coming from valuation chapter. They would give you a lot of supply that is being made. Like, oh, this fellow has so many transactions. You compute what is the taxable value. Some of them could be exempted, some of them could be included, some of them could be excluded. You find out what it is, make a list and learn everything, done. Then it could be net GST payable, which is the golden question. There is one question which is going to ask you net GST, which is going to club everything. What is your liability of taxes? What's the credits that you have? And you compute the net GST. Then total ITC available. They'll give you lots of cases of ITC alone and then ask you like how much is the total ITC that can be there. There could be other simple questions like how much ITC to be reversed and all that. So this is how generally the computational questions are, only this much. Okay, you don't have, but balance everything is like practical theory. Okay, so the method of writing answers is going to be very clear to you by when you're solving a lot number of questions. Okay, so this is it, guys. This is the approach that we're going to adopt for our May examination. Learn everything that I've already explained to you in terms of this particular subject and ensure that you become super expert in it. What is that I expect from you? I expect from you full commitment towards this batch. Okay, ensure that like you take all my time, ensure that you bug me with questions. Okay, ensure that if you find any new question that you think that I know you want me to answer that questions, let's go ahead and then discuss those questions. Wherever that open-ended questions we do. But when you do it, when you find an additional question, look at only those questions with answers. Okay, there could be a lot of questions that we can have, but does not make any differences. If you don't know the answers or if you don't have the answers, then you will be confused. We don't want confusions. We want clarity by end of it. Okay. So with this, I can go ahead and then start with this question. Now, MCQ scenario based questions. Yes, I've given all the MCQ scenario based questions also at the end of the chapter, but MCQ scenario based questions generally has multiple chapters involved. So our approach towards covering the chapter would be, first we will go with chapter specific questions. To give you an example, I'm going to start with valuation chapter. Once I do valuation chapter, I'll discuss all those questions in valuation chapter, which covers only valuation. Some simple extra concept I'll discuss and then do that question. Then I reach a charge chapter. I'll do questions which connects value and charge. When I'm reaching time of supply, I'll do questions on time of supply, which connects time of supply, charge and value. ITC, I'll collect those. So whenever I'm reaching like a club of chapters, I will go to case study and then discuss those questions, those case studies which refers those chapters. Okay, so we will cover everything. There is nothing that I want. If I want to stretch, the number of hours that I'm doing for this, I'm very happy to do it, and then we should have all the clarity in it. And if you find any topic, okay, so for example, I've explained the concept and you think that little extra time needs to be spent on some concept and you want little extra understanding on those concepts, you let me know. I can give you the access of those recorded lectures on those topics alone. I will put it on the on our discussion in the app. You can access those, read, go through those regular lectures or like crash lectures, and you will have an idea on what is this topic all about. That is also going to be done for you guys upon request. Okay, I don't want to give you, I don't want you to spend another 90 hours in terms of reading those basics and understanding. Our set of discussion is more than enough. So with that, I'm going to start with this is the approach that you should take for your May examination. I hope this is clear to all of you.